Moving to a closer look at the candidates who aspire to occupy 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. In the latest installment of Charles Gibson Who Is series, we take a revealing look at a man who has already come very close to being Vice President of the United States. We ask, who is John Edwards?
You talk often when you're campaigning about being the son of a mill worker. But were you truly poor?
When I was born, we were poor. I mean, my father had to borrow money from somebody, $50 if I remember right, to get me, my mother, out of the hospital. And I've been back to the house that he took us home to. It was a two-room house, little house in a mill village, and we didn't have squat back then. But that changed over time.
Do you remember ever, I can't have that, we can't afford that, I must want for that, ever when you were a kid?
We went on Sunday after church, one Sunday, to Sunday dinner. And we went to a local restaurant. We were all dressed up. I had my suit and my tie on. And after we sat there for about 5 minutes, my father had been very quiet. He said, "We have to leave." And I didn't understand what was going on. And he said, "We have to leave." And he said, finally said, "I can't pay these prices." And so put the menus down. We had to get up and leave. And I just remember at the time being incredibly embarrassed, thinking everybody in the place was staring at us and trying to figure out what it is that, why is it we had to get up and leave.
Does that change you in any way?
I think it does change you. I think what had more effect on me than that, than wanting material things, was when I saw when I was growing up the way my father was treated, because he didn't have a college education, and the way some of the men and women in the mill who worked with him, who he loved, were treated. And that, I think, had a more profound effect on the way I viewed the world.
So you go away to college?
Yeah.
You went out for football?
I did. I played on the freshman team at Clemson.
Didn't have a scholarship? Mm-mm. Thought you'd be a walk-on?
Thought I'd get a walk-on and get a scholarship, and I learned the hard way.
How much do you weigh?
I probably weighed about 155, 160.
What position are you trying for? I
was both a wide receiver and a defensive back.
And those linemen weighed 220 pounds.
At least.
When 220 pounds hits 160, usually 220 wins.
All I remember is they were fast and they were big. And I was small and I was slow. That's what I remember.
So you left Clemson.
Yeah.
Went back to North Carolina State.
Correct.
And majored in textiles.
You thought of college as a way to get a job, not an intellectual exercise. And so the whole idea was to get a degree in something that would allow me to support my family. You
met this girl in law school.
I did.
4 years older than you.
That's true.
Who would have the temerity to think that a girl 4 years older, 4 years smarter, 4 years more experienced, who comes from a more cosmopolitan world than the hick from Robbins, North Carolina, would be interested in you?
Yeah. Well, she wasn't to begin with. I mean, I can't even remember how many times I asked her out before she finally said yes. And I think she did it out of pity, honestly, more than anything else. And the first time we went out, I took her to a place to dance where you couldn't hear anything. The music was so loud. I was dressed the way you would expect somebody from my background to be dressed, and she still gives me a hard time about that.
How were you dressed?
I don't remember exactly, but I think I had on one of these coats with the suede, those suede insets on the, because I thought that was, debonair. I thought that was the way, if you really wanted to impress somebody, that's what you did.
And for an extended version of our Who Is profile of John Edwards, you can visit our website, abcnews.com, or iTunes, where you can download a weekly podcast featuring each story in the Who Is series.